Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this morning's edition of Contracting Chatter. Tell your neighbors, tell your business bestie, grab your contractor's notebook. We're in for a morning of information. And over here, we don't grow alone. I just need my coffee this morning. So just give me a second to get set up. Goodness, I just had to get my coffee this morning. So, welcome to this morning's edition of Contracting Chatter. So, let's get this party started. There's a whole lot going on in the government contracting world, and let's talk about it. Let's just get this party started. So, as I told you guys yesterday, I'm counting down to my company's 10th anniversary, which will culminate in what I'm calling the Contractors Intensive, which will be September of next year here in the Queen City of North Carolina, which is Charlotte, for all of those who don't know. In the meantime, what I'm doing is, amongst my regular content, I am sharing some of my lessons learned in building a business. Things that I wish I knew. Everybody tells you start a business, but people don't share the real deal behind the scenes of starting a business. So, amongst my regular content, I'm sharing with you the real deal of starting a business. Because let me tell you, everybody shouldn't start a business. Let's That's the first nugget. Everybody shouldn't be a business owner. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody isn't cut that way. And let's have that conversation. Everybody isn't cut that way. There are things when being a business founder that goes into it that they don't talk about. The the strategy planning, the making sure things are done. As an employee, all you do is come in and do your job. As a business founder, you're in charge of the operations. You're in charge of setting up the procedures. You're in charge of the customer journey. You're in charge of the marketing. You're in charge of ensuring that the employees experience with your organization is one that makes them want to stay, and you're in charge of making sure the customers experience with your organization makes them want to return. So that's all on you. When you're an employee, all you do is come in, clock in, do your job, and go home. No, when you're the company founder, you're responsible for looking at the P&L. That's the profit and loss statements. If there's a profit, what do you do with that profit? You pay your company, you pay your employees, you pay yourself. Notice I said you pay your company, you pay your employees, you pay yourself. You are responsible for everything. You have a fiduciary responsibility for all of it. I'm going to say that one more time. You have a fiduciary responsibility for all of it. So your mindset must flip. So when you decide that I am going to start a business, your mindset must flip. You must come out of the consumer mindset and come into the entrepreneurial mindset. That's why I was looking through some old notes. And one of the first trainings I offered when I first started my business was the entrepreneurial mindset. Now, I will be one first one to tell you, nobody bought it because they didn't think they needed it. But let me tell you, everybody needs this because there is an entrepreneurial mindset to running a business. You can't purchase the way you purchase when you're a consumer. You can't think the way you think when you're a consumer. It is different. A consumer mindset will have you out of business. That is it in the discussion. There's so much more to it. As a compliance officer, I'm here to tell you, non-compliance is what drives a lot of businesses out of business. You don't pay your taxes. You're not paying attention to the small details. You're not meeting payroll on time. Forget about not being the payroll. You don't pay yourself. You're not paying your business. And when I say you're not paying your business, you're not charging what you're supposed to charge because you're following these wannabe gurus instead of getting in community with people who actually know. And it's just a thing where you have to up level at some point in time. And then you want to, let's get this thing, go into government contracting, and your business isn't even businessing. Oh, let me tell you something. Government contractors are businesses. And then you want to jump in and get all these certifications, which are hot garbages. I will say it again. Getting 1,000 certifications will not cover the multitude of sins if your business is not straight. And I will stand 10 toes down on that. If your business isn't straight, them certifications don't mean anything. The only certification any government contractor should go after is the 8A. I will stand 10 toes down on that. And now that I have my coffee, we can go. We can go for that. I'm ready to fight anybody on that. You know what? I'm ready to have a conversation about that. Because it's time out for listening to people who don't know the industry. I've been in government contracting since the year 2000. And I've worked for one of the largest government contractors. I've seen the back end. I've talked to contracting officers. And I am telling you, when I talked to that contracting officer and he was talking about people, small businesses couldn't submit a bill, certifications don't teach you how to submit a bill. Having your business in order teaches you how to submit a bill. Yes. Mm-hmm. So getting certified shouldn't be your first thing. And I hear it over and over and over again. Discovery session after discovery session, call after the day. You know, that's why I don't do free discovery sessions anymore. People are focusing on the wrong thing. And I understand why they do it. A AAA certification, I don't know what that is. That doesn't exist within government contracting. And I believe, you know what, let me back up. I believe a AAA certification is something that is given in automotive, in the automotive industry. And it talks about, and I'm very speaking about it very vaguely because I'm not well versed in it, but it's something in the automotive industry because every industry has its own set of certifications. But I can't go in depth about the AAA. But are you talking about 8A? Because that's what I said the 8A. The 8A certification. Okay. The 8A certification is a certification that companies within government contracting, if you've been in business for a minimum of 2 years, 2 to 3 years, have a contract mix and revenues. It used to be 500,000. They just changed the 8A program. I need to go look, but and that change went into effect this fiscal year. I'm sorry. And these people asking to go live together just threw me off. They just changed the 8A program. So it used to be $500,000, used to be in business for 2 years, and have a clients with more contracts with more than two government two more than two government clients. Sorry, these people requesting to go live is killing me. Um, you can apply to become what they call 8A certified. They are a 8A. Those contracts are set aside. Only small businesses and small, I'm going to define small business in a minute, are set aside only for small businesses to compete on. And those small businesses on those contracts, you are the prime. Those are the only contracts where only small businesses can compete on. Period. In the discussion. So now, small business according to the SBA and the federal government, is any business making a certain revenue amount per NAICE code. So depending upon the NAICE code, what is a small business? So if you have a NAICE code of 56141, your revenue is like 1 million. Of $1 million, you will be a small business within that NAICE code. You can apply to be 8A certified. And your 8A certification is for 8 years. And within that 8 years, you have the ability to bid on those contracts. And within those 8 years, you have the big dogs like your General Dynamics, your Lockheeds, and your Boeings trying to subcontract with you because they want to chomp at the bit to get access to those contracts because those contracts are gold. Those 8 years will make you, when you graduate, if you go into the 8A program with a sound strategy in a strong company, you will graduate in position to enter the Fortune 500. I mean, so that's why I say that certification is the only one a government contractor should go for. But you can't go for it and you can't take advantage of it without a true contracting strategy. If any you have any more questions, drop them in the chat just like that other lady just did. Um, that's what I'm talking about. But now I'm getting ready to drop something to you. 90% of companies who start in the 8A program fail because they go in qualified, but they don't have a strategy. So they waste their time in the program. So they came up with this mentor protege program. And the mentor protege program is where you are mentored by one of the, I call them the big dogs. You're mentored by a General Dynamics, or you're mentored by Lockheed Martin. And DCAA, which is Defense Contract Audit Agency, also has a mentor protege program. You're welcome. They also have a mentor protege program. Here's the problem. And good morning, Vaughn. Here's the problem with the mentor protege program, and I know this because I used to work for a big company. You have to go in with your company set up. You can't go into that program expecting that prime to set up your company. That program isn't designed for that big company to come in and run your company. No, that program is designed for you to go in, have set meetings, and for them to come in and to do that, be a mentor, to say, hey, I'm having this issue. Are you having this issue? DCAA is getting on my nerves about this. Are you expecting this? Take advantage of it like that. But even then, their job is not to run your company. So a lot of businesses are going into the mentor protege program thinking the prime is either going to give all their secrets, or going to run their company, or going to tell them how to run their company. And they can't take advantage of it because, once again, you think somebody's going to give you everything for free. You still need to be hiring consultants, hiring mentors of your own who can help you position yourself so that when you meet with your mentor protege within the industry, you can take advantage of that. So 90% fail when they come into the program, which is why the big dogs have a whole strategy around buying failing companies as they exit the mentor protege program. I mean, the 8A program. And then the 10% that graduate, 90% of the 10% that graduate fail 1 year after graduation. Because they don't have a strategy for after they graduate, because they're dependent upon those set asides. So, what did you just hear me say? You need a strategy to get to 8A. You need a strategy for 8A, and you need a strategy for after 8A. 3 different strategies. What did I tell you? Because you're in 3 different stages of your business. And the 3 different stages means you need 3 different strategies because you're in 3 different places in your business life. And you have to think that way. What you did to get started is not what you need to do to keep going. Is this resonating with anyone? If it's resonating with anyone, let me know. And let me know if this is resonating with anyone. If anybody still have any questions on what I'm saying, let me know. If you have any more questions, you can drop them in the live. I'm also live on TikTok. The people who are showing, who are sending me dual live invitations, and you haven't even dropped a comment in the chat, please stop. It's annoying. and it's distracting. That's why I'm getting thrown off. I keep getting these dual live invitations on TikTok, and I don't go live on TikTok much. So it's it's highly distracting. Um so anyway, back to this my regularly scheduled program. So in keeping, good morning, Iris. How are you doing? Thank you, and have a good day to you too. Um, so in keeping with what I was saying about the three strategies and what it takes to start and grow and get stable. First of all, we keep talking about we need to scale. Scale, you need to get stable. Then you scale. No, excuse me. You get stable. Then you grow. Then you scale. There's a difference between growing and scaling. I'm going to say that again. There's a difference between growth and scale. Growth means simply you made $1, now you make it 5, now you make it 10, now you make it 20. That's growth. Now you're making $10,000, now you're making $50,000. Scaling is now you're making 200,000, 500,000. Now we've made that quantum leap, as my mentor my mentor called it a quantum leap. Now we make it 500,000. Now we're making joint ventures. Now we're partnering. Now we're collaborating. You know what I'm saying? That's scaling. People confuse growth and scale. They think they're the same thing. And they're a part of the same thing because scaling is a part of the growth process. I'm going to say that again. Scaling is a part of the growth process, but they are not the same things. And once we get our language together, then we can actually get some things going as business owners. And, I want to share something with you that one of my business coaches, because I have multiple business coaches, one of my business coaches said in one of her trainings that blew my mind. And I know everybody that I'm talking to have heard this phrase in one way or another. We've all heard the phrase, you don't want to leave money on the table. You're leaving money on the table. You're leaving money on the table. We've all heard this phrase. And let me tell you, and people have run with this phrase as though it was a bad thing to leave money on the table. Well, she said in preparation for her upcoming conference, she actually looked up the phrase leaving money on the table because she was doing a whole training on leaving money on the table. And when she looked up the phrase leaving money on the table and found out what it actually meant, she renamed some of her programs and some of her worksheets in her program because it's actually a good thing to leave money on the table. I'm going to say that again, and I'm going to give her credit for this. Her name is Darnell Jervey, and she has a whole program called Move the Millions. I can give her credit. I don't mind if you go follow her because what she does and what I do are two different things. And I'm going to say you need to follow her and follow me. Hello. You need to leave money on the table. Because what she found out the phrase means is to leave money on the table means the deal is disadvantaged or not a good deal. So You need to leave it on the table. Child, she said it blew her mind, and it blew my mind when she said it. We're running around here using phrases like we know what they mean. Just like small business. We think small businesses, we're small businesses, or we're small business, or you're a small business because you're a single owner, sole proprietor, and all this other stuff. No. Small business is a small business by revenue, which is why when you're looking at news broadcasts, they're talking about small business with the revenue of multiple millions of dollars. And you're like, that's not a small business. Yes, it is. Small businesses are defined by revenue in accordance to NAICE codes or head count, depending upon NAICE codes, or square footage, depending upon the NAICE codes. It is not the way you think it is. You have to learn the terminology, or at least how the terminology is being utilized in the way it is being utilized in that conversation. And before people keep saying, well, that's why words are subjective, the words are not subjective, you're using them incorrectly. Everything has a definition. And the problem is, in the course of language, in the course of conversation, people have decided to not be bothered by looking them up. And then I'm going to take it one step higher as I teach my children. Every industry has its own set of definitions. And what happens is words from this industry has been dragged into the common vernacular. And because people tried to be experts in things they don't know about, they're using vernacular from particular industries in common language because they're trying to sound as though they're experts in everything, and they're not. And they're misleading the population, which is why people are talking about leaving money on the table, and you're supposed to leave the money on the table because it's a disadvantaged deal. And I'll admit, I heard the phrase, I never used the phrase, but I heard the phrase leaving money on the table. And I was thinking, am I leaving money on the table? And I'm proud to say I have left money on the table. I have had a negative bank account and walked away from clients because I knew they would be difficult. Because I'm going to tell you, the first rule of government contracting is follow directions. And if you won't follow the simple directions I give you on the onboarding process, I know you're going to be a difficult client. So I said no. If you're going to sit here and try to play let's make a deal with my prices, I already know you're going to be a difficult client. So I said no. You have the right to say no to my prices, and I have the right to say no to you as a client. And that is something else as a business owner, people don't tell you. You don't have to adjust your prices for nobody. And I will share this story with people. I started my business, as I said, I'm on the road to 10 years. Actually, my business is 10 years old. I'm just celebrating it in 2025. My LT&A Consulting Group I'm celebrating 10 years in 2025. We are 10 years old. I started this company in 2014. My parent company is older than that, but let's continue. Let's continue the conversation. Because if I went back to when I first started in business, I'm talking about when I first. Please stop sending me. If you want to join the live, you have to, at the bare minimum, put a comment in the chat first. I'm talking to people on TikTok. Sorry, that threw me off. If I went all the way back to when there's only one type of government contracting. Let me go back. There's only one type of government contract, and I get that question a lot. There's one type of government contracting. The government buys everything. And I work with anyone who is trying to sell to the government. And I know that sounds crazy. There is one procurement process with selling to the government, and that is the RFP, or the request for a proposal process. Everybody has to respond to an RFP or an RFI to sell to the government. And I help businesses relieve the confusion with that process and establish compliant process with that with the contracting process. So what kind of government contracting I do? There is only one type of government contracting, because the government buys everything. Who do I work with? Businesses who want to work with the largest client there is, and that is the government. If you want to sell to the federal government or the state government, I can help you, because there's only one procurement process, and that is to respond to the RFP or the RFI. Now, can you sell to the government outside of that process? Yes. However, you have to position yourself strategically and in a way that the government will feel comfortable circumventing. You have to be bonded in construction in order to be a government, to do contracting. You have to have insurance to do government contracting. Every company talking about being a government contractor, you have to have insurance. And the insurance limits depends upon the contract. The larger the contract, the larger your limits. And that is because the government is risk averse. And I'm going to just go here. If you're in business, you want insurance, period, in the discussion. So, yeah, you need insurance. But bonds is different from insurance. Bond is different from insurance. So, but I know in construction, you need bonds. And then in construction, you need bond and insurance. And I know somebody who can help you get bonded if you can't get bonded. And I know people who had a problem getting bonded, but they could get insurance. And I know somebody who can help you get bonded if you have a problem getting bonded. But in government contracting, you have to have insurance if you're doing government contracts. There's more to filling out paperwork, because there's more than filling out paperwork. Because here's the thing, a lot of people think all I need to do is respond and that's it. A lot of people lose out on the RFP on the budget side. Because if you don't have your numbers right, you'll lose out on the RFP. I'm sorry. If you're on TikTok and you're interested in working with me, hit my link tree up, because hit my link tree up on TikTok, or send me an inbox. My inboxes are open. A lot of people lose out on the RFP process actually in the budget side. And that's because the government already knows pretty much how much it costs to do work. And you need to bid within 10% of that. This is not the time to lowball. And I know people think if I come in really low, then I can just, no, no. If it costs $10,000, it's $10,000, period. If it costs $1,000,000, it's $1,000,000, period. Because guess what? The government already knows that. I mean, I don't understand this. I don't understand. I did the numbers and it cost $1,000,000. So I'm only going to charge the government $800,000 because if they see 800,000, no, they see 800,000, they know it's $1,000,000. They know they either going to think one or two things. They're going to think you don't know what you're doing, or they think you're unstable. And they're not gonna choose you. They're gonna think one of two things. You don't know what you're doing or you're unstable. I don't understand why people think this. And I'm gonna go here. If you go too high, if you go too high, they're gonna think you don't know what you're doing. Let me tell you about this thing. They have history. And they've already accounted for inflation. And I'm going to tell you about this inflation talk. I'm sorry I'm eating too because I'm a little over my time. Chatter normally is only 30 minutes. And I have some videos on my business page, which is LTACG on TikTok. And everywhere else is LT&A Consulting Group on all my other social media. I know you was just kidding, but I just love what you're saying because it gives me a great springboard into please go start your own live if you want to talk about that. Thank you. The government has historical records. So what they do is an aggregate. So they know that historically this endeavor has always cost about $800,000. So if it's cost $800,000, they will adjust upwards a certain percentage to account for inflation and your geographic location if you're doing virtual. So they're looking within that realm for the proposal. And I'm just throwing out some numbers. So if you come in too ridiculously low, they're going to be suspicious. They're going to like, what are they doing? If you come in too high, they're going to look at your bid rates. They're going to say, okay, what's going on with her rates? If your company is a new company, they're going to look at your labor base. They're going to look at your base. And if your base is small, they're going to say, okay, this is why her bid rates are high. So there are some nuances there. And I know I threw out a whole lot of terms. I said bid rates. Then I said base, and you're probably saying, what is she talking about? She's speaking Japanese now. But there are things to explain it. But if they look at all of that and they still can't figure out what in the world, because even after the award, most agencies now are doing desk audits because you can win the contract and still lose the award. I'm going to say that again. You can win the contract and lose the award. That is why there's a winner and they don't announce the final awardee for a while because they do a desk audit. And the desk audit is where they say, okay, send me your SOPs, send me your chart of accounts, because they want to see that you're a stable business. They want to see that you're going to be around for a while. If it's a 5-year contract, they want to see that you're going to be around for 5 years, because they don't want to go through the process again. They want to see what staff is going to be working on this project. They want to see that the staff you bid really exists. Oh, I'm sorry. No Chinese. But I'm just saying, so there's a whole process after the contract win, which is why I have a training called Stages of Government Contracting, where each stage has something that goes on. There's this whole thing. Each stage has something that the government does and that the contractor should be doing. And even after you're performing on the contract, there's still something you should be doing besides performing. Hello. So while you're performing on the contract, there's things you should be doing. Now, you should be performing to the utmost, again, like invoicing. But in addition to the invoicing, in your business, you should ensure that you're adhering to the rules and regulations, that you're keeping your books and records current, accurate, and complete. And you should be monitoring your burn rate. Somebody's saying, what is a burn rate? That's when you're saying, here is what your contract is worth. This is what you're billing. How fast am I going through the money? You need to be watching. You need to be watching your contracting officer. What do I mean by that? Okay, this is what I mean by that. For all those who are just joining the live, my name is Luciana Turner. This is Contracting Chatter. I'll talk about all things business and government contracting. I am celebrating 10 years in business. I am sharing some 10 tips in the midst of my normal content, and I'm celebrating it with a big shebang in September called the Contractor Intensive, but we're going to keep on going. And over here, we don't believe in growing alone. So if you know somebody else who can use this information, share the live with them. Let them know. I don't ask for much. Matter of fact, this is the first time I asked somebody to share the live. But but we just don't believe in growing alone in this network, in this community. I don't go live on TikTok much, so that's probably why you're not used to seeing me. But anywho, continue. Watch your contracting officer, and this is what I mean by that. And it's no maliciousness. However, your contracting officer is looking for a power partner, which is why my next book is How to Be a Power Partner in Government Contracting. I interviewed a whole lot of what my power partners. One of which is somebody who is a contracting officer. She works for the VA. One is a nonprofit specialist. One has been doing government contracting for years. And I interviewed them, and we talked about what it takes to partner in government contracting. And I'm actually recording some additional content. And I'm talking about my years, because when I first entered government contracting, I entered government contracting on project. And my COTAR had me all out of the scope of my work. I mean, all out the scope of work. And somebody's going to say, what is that? That means I was supposed to be doing one thing, and he had me doing a whole other thing. That is what I mean watching your contracting officer. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it isn't, especially if you have a new contracting officer. You have to monitor the scope of work and what the actual work being requested is. That's why I said government contracting isn't hard, it's just multiple moving pieces. So I'm peeling back the onion for you. It's just multiple layers. So if you was hired to weld some widgets and some gadgets, you're supposed to put bolt A, bolt B, and bolt C to create gadget D. They should not have you power welding a wall. And sometimes you'll have somebody who will say, well, I need you to put up this wall over here. Well, they need to amend to create a new task order. Now they don't have to do a new bid for this. As long as the work is comparable to what you're currently doing, they don't have to do a new bid. They can do a new task order. Y'all just need to come to the table and say, okay, this is the new work. Issue new statement of work. You give them a new quote. They agree to it. It's a new task order, which is bid separately, and you keep moving. But all of this, you just gonna be doing stuff willy-nilly for free. What? Where we do that at? Because how are you paying your staff? And who says your staff is qualified to do it? You might need to bring in a specialist for that, and specialists don't work for 10 hours. So you got to pay that specialist $30. Where's that money coming from? And don't forget, I said you have to pay your company, you have to pay your employees, and you have to pay yourself. So where's that extra money coming from? Hello? Am I making sense to anybody? Or am I just talking an unknown language? Am I speaking in unknown tongues? And this is a balanced perspective. Government contracting is not hard. It's just multiple layers. And when you're trying to do it alone, you can become overwhelmed. And I'm telling you, I worked for one of the biggest companies. A matter of fact, the last time I checked, they were ranked number 4 in government contracting. And guess what? They have a whole team of consultants. They number 4 in government contracting, and they have a whole team of consultants. They bring in consultants to help them, and they number 4. They have a whole team. So if they have a team of consultants, why don't you? If they have a whole team of mentors, why don't you? If they're and before somebody said, but they have money, why do you think they have money? I was introduced to a phrase. I don't play spades. Don't take my card. Don't try to shame me because I don't play spades. When I was in college, I was selling papers to make extra money. I was in the chemistry lab because I was actually a chemistry major when I started in college. And then I graduated with my degree in legal studies. So from my degrees, you could tell I wasn't doing anything other than studying. I didn't have time for that. So I don't play spades. But I was introduced to a phrase called broke money don't make no money. It comes to a point where you have to do just a little bit of investing. And when you enter the room with the investors, that's where the doors open up. And with that, I'm going to leave you with 10 tips of clarity. And then I have a download that I call the Contractors Toolkit. I'm not sure how TikTok is going to get to it, but everybody else, it's in my contractor shop. So it's on I'm resetting everything. Because like I said, and this year I'm resetting my whole brand. And my website is down. I'm gonna be honest. My brand manager is gonna kill me. My website is down. Shh. But my link tree, I think my link tree is up. I created an infographic called the Contractors Toolkit. It's free. I do have a book out called Keys to Government Contracting. It's on Amazon. And it's only $10. I am working on the second edition of it, which is going to I changed the title a little bit, called 10 Keys to Government Contracting. And then, like I said, I have the book coming out, Power Partners to Government Contracting. So yes, I have a lot of things coming out. And it's to help peel back the onion and to help get people to where they're trying to go. Because that is why I started my company. But I just wanted to leave these 10 tips of clarity. I'm going to leave 10 tips of clarity. Clarity gives speed. So I want you to do something. Get clear. Get clear about what you are offering or what you're selling to the government. Clarity gives direction. When you get clear about what you're selling to the government or selling to anybody, but once you get clear about what you're selling, you can get in a direction and then you can get traction. Clarity makes their decision making easier. And you know what? My mentor talked about this, and I found this to be easier because when I got clear on what I was doing, I was able to go faster. I was able to get into a direction. I was able to make decisions. Clarity brings focus. If you find yourself over here, and you can't just, you're not clear enough. Clarity builds partnerships. When you can't do something, that means there is something within not within your wheelhouse. You need to then find somebody who has that skill. And you can't partner if you can't communicate. And if you can't communicate the need, that means you're not clear. So clarity builds partnerships. Clarity builds success. If you're not seeing this level of success that you want, it's because there's not a level of clarity that you need. Clarity tells you what room you need to be in. My mentor talks about this. You don't belong in every room. I'm going to say this again. You don't belong in every room. I learned this when I started my business. I was in rooms with people making multiple millions of dollars, and I couldn't figure out why I was in the room because I belonged there. I belonged in rooms with people who were 10, 20, 30 steps ahead of me. You know why? Because they could teach me something. You should never be taking advice from people who are making the same mistakes you are. You belong in community with people who are stumbling with you, but you don't take advice from those people. There's a difference. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. Clarity tells you who is giving wise counsel. When you're clear on what you need, you can be clear on who's telling you the right thing. A lot of these overnight gurus are just mimicking stuff and regurgitating stuff and making stuff up. When you're clear that you have a direction you want to go in, you can be clear when people are telling you smoke and mirrors. Clarity gives determination. When you get clear, you get on that path, you get on that grind, you know what you need to do. Clarity does that. And clarity says you know your name. You know what you need to do. You have a legacy you're building. You have a company you're stabilizing. All of that you're trying to do. You don't have time for it. Clarity does all of these things. And today I'm gonna make this an infographic that you can download. I'm on all social media platforms. On TikTok, I'm LTACG. Everywhere else, I'm LT&A Consulting Group. This is Luciana Turner, this morning's contracting chatter. Join me tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for another edition of Contracting Chatter. I am going to talk about tomorrow. I'm going to flip the dynamic. We're going to talk about some of the upcoming legislation surrounding government contracting and how you can position and pivot. Anybody who wants to have any additional questions or want to work with me on TikTok, hit me in my DMs or my link tree will take you to my scheduling calendar. On my other social media platforms, my scheduling calendar is in my bio. So with that, have an amazing day. And remember, a stressed mind cannot create. So when you're running into a roadblock, if you can't answer a question, remember what I said about clarity. Clarity gives speed and direction. Walk away from it. Don't sit there and try to bulldoze your way. Walk away from it. Take a walk, read a book. You will find your answer in the peace and in the quiet of the moment. And with that, I will see you on tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. for another edition of Contracting Chatter. Have an amazing, amazing day.